You are not tired because life is hard. You are tired because your life is going nowhere. And every morning you hit snooze, you silently choose the same future again. This story will show you the moment everything changes. Have you ever opened your eyes in the morning and felt disappointed in yourself before the day even began? Not because something happened, but because something didn't. Because you promised yourself you would wake up early. Because you swore last night would be different. And yet, there you are again, staring at the ceiling, heart heavy, already tired of a day you haven't even lived. That quiet moment after the alarm stops ringing, when guilt is louder than sound, when you don't need anyone to criticize you because you're already doing it yourself. You tell yourself, "I'm not a morning person." You say, "I need more sleep." You say, "I'll start next week." And slowly, without noticing, weeks turn into years. Dreams turn into background noise. And the most dangerous thought of all begins to settle in. Maybe this is just my life. But what if that thought is a lie? What if your future is not destroyed by big failures, but by one small decision you repeat every morning? Welcome to Glaze English. What if the first hour of your day is not ordinary time, but a hidden lever, a silent battlefield where lives quietly change direction? What if the moment before sunrise is where success is either built or buried? Today's story is about a man who had nothing, no power, no skills, no direction, until one morning changed the way he used his time. And that morning changed everything. If this kind of story speaks to you, subscribe to Glaze English to support the channel and help us keep creating powerful videos like this. Stay with me, because the end of this story might feel uncomfortably personal. And to understand why that first hour matters so much, you need to understand the kind of life that exists when your mornings belong to exhaustion instead of purpose. In a small industrial town where the air always smelled faintly of metal and oil, there lived a 32-year-old man named Thomas. Every evening at exactly 8 o'clock, while most homes were turning on their lights and families were sitting down to eat, Thomas was putting on his faded uniform and stepping through the gates of a textile warehouse. The building was massive, cold, and echoing. His job was simple: walk the same routes, check the same doors, watch the same silent machines, hour after hour, night after night. When his shift ended at 6 in the morning, the sky was just beginning to pale. The town was slowly waking up, and Thomas was walking home, drained, shoulders heavy, eyes burning. His paycheck barely covered survival: rent, basic food, bus fare, nothing more. He lived alone in a cramped one-room apartment above a closed shop. A thin mattress lay directly on the floor. The fan rattled, but barely cooled the air. At night, the single light bulb flickered like it was as tired as he was. But poverty was not what hurt the most. It was the sense of being invisible to his own life. Every morning, on his walk home, Thomas passed rows of quiet houses. Through uncovered windows, he saw fragments of other people's mornings. A father pouring coffee, a mother packing a lunch, a child tying their shoes, men in clean shirts adjusting their collars before work. They were beginning their days. He was ending his. And in that silent walk, one thought returned again and again, sharper each time. Is this really all my life is going to be? Thomas had tried to escape it. He applied for better jobs whenever he saw a notice. Offices, stores, entry-level positions. But the interviews always ended the same way. Polite smiles, empty encouragement, and then nothing. With only a high school education and no special skills, he was easy to overlook. He told himself he would learn. Accounting, computers, something useful, something that could change his situation. But every morning when he reached his apartment around 7, his body collapsed before his will could act. He slept through the daylight. He woke in the afternoon. He ate quickly. Then he prepared for another night. Survive, repeat. Once a week, his mother called from the countryside. "Thomas, my son," she would say gently, "when will your life get better? I'm getting old. I want to see you succeed before I go." He always forced brightness into his voice. "Soon, Mama. I'm working on it." But when the call ended, the room felt even smaller, because he wasn't working on it. He didn't know how. Some mornings, lying awake while pale sunlight crept across the wall, Thomas felt a strange disconnect, as if he were watching the world through glass. Everyone else seemed to be moving forward, building something, becoming someone. And he was only recovering enough strength to endure another night. One morning, the words formed clearly in his mind. "I'm living backwards. The world moves forward while I sleep through it." That realization didn't make him quit. It made him tired in a deeper way. And in that exhaustion, one quiet question began to follow him everywhere he went. There has to be another way. But he had no idea what it was. Not yet. That unanswered question followed Thomas for weeks, quietly growing heavier, until one cold Tuesday morning, life forced an answer he was not ready for. His phone rang just as he was signing out at the warehouse gate. It was his sister. Her voice was unsteady. "Thomas, you need to come home. Mama collapsed. She's in the hospital." For a moment, the world seemed to narrow into a thin, silent line. He couldn't speak. He couldn't think. He only nodded, even though she couldn't see him. He took the first bus to his village, a 3-hour ride that felt endless. Every minute stretched, filled with images of his mother's tired face, her hands, her voice, asking when his life would get better. When he arrived at the small rural clinic, the building smelled of disinfectant and old paint. His mother lay in a narrow bed, thinner than he remembered, her skin pale against the white sheets. Machines hummed quietly beside her. The doctor spoke in a low voice. Exhaustion, stress. Her body had simply given up for a moment. She needed rest, better food, medicine, care, things Thomas did not know how to provide. He sat beside her and held her hand. It felt light, fragile. Her eyes opened slowly. "My son," she whispered, struggling to smile. "I don't have much time left. Please, don't waste your life like I wasted mine. Find a way. Promise me. The words landed inside him like a weight. He nodded again and again, afraid that if he spoke, he would break. After she fell asleep, Thomas stayed. The room was quiet. The night pressed against the windows. He stared at her hands, deeply lined from decades of work in the fields, hands that had labored every day, yet never escaped survival, just like his. Something inside him cracked, not into tears, into anger. Anger at his helplessness, anger at his smallness, anger at the idea that this could be the full measure of a life. He stepped outside the clinic. The village was still wrapped in darkness. A few distant lights glowed. Somewhere, a rooster called. A couple of farmers were already walking toward their fields, silhouettes against the faint blue of the approaching dawn. Thomas breathed in the cold air. He checked his phone. 5 a.m. Standing there, in the quiet before morning, he felt something he had not felt in years. Clarity. No more, he whispered into the empty street. I won't live like this anymore. I don't care what it takes. I will find a way. On the bus ride back to town, his mind would not rest. He watched the road slide past, thinking of that moment outside the clinic, of the sky just beginning to change. That was when he noticed the man sitting across from him. He was in his 50s, dressed simply but well, reading a book with calm focus. Thomas recognized him immediately. Mr. Chen, a businessman who owned several shops in town. What startled Thomas wasn't the man. It was the hour. 6 in the morning. A successful man sitting on a public bus at dawn. Before he could stop himself, Thomas leaned forward. Excuse me, sir. Why are you on such an early bus? Mr. Chen looked up and smiled. Because I wake up at 4:30 every morning. I use the early hours to read, think, and plan my day before the world wakes up. Thomas hesitated. But don't you need sleep? I sleep at 9, Mr. Chen said. 7 to 8 hours. Enough. He studied Thomas's face, the tired eyes, the slumped shoulders. You work nights. Yes. I'm a security guard. And when do you sleep? Usually after 7 in the morning, until late afternoon. Mr. Chen nodded slowly. So you are awake when the world sleeps, and asleep when the world builds. No wonder you feel stuck. He leaned slightly closer. 30 years ago, someone told me something that changed my life. The hours between 5 and 7 in the morning are not ordinary hours. They are foundation hours. That is when you can quietly build the life you want, while everyone else is still dreaming. Thomas felt something dangerous rise in his chest. Hope. But how? He asked. I'm always exhausted. Then change your sleep. Protect your mornings, even if you must suffer at first. And when your situation improves, never give those hours back. Mr. Chen took out a small card and wrote a number on it. If you are serious about changing your life, call me. I will show you what to do with those hours, but only if you are serious. Because discipline is a price most people say they want to pay, until the bill arrives. When the bus reached his stop, Thomas stood with the card in his hand. For the first time in years, he didn't feel trapped. He felt as if a door had quietly opened somewhere inside him. And he knew one thing with certainty. This was not a coincidence. This was an invitation. That small card in Thomas's hand felt heavier than paper, as if it carried a decision he could no longer escape. The next day, something unusual happened. At 11 in the morning, while the city was already deep into its routines, Thomas was awake. Not half awake, not drifting, awake in a way he had not felt in years. He called the number. Mr. Chen told him to meet at a small cafe near the station. When Thomas arrived, Mr. Chen studied him for a moment and nodded. "You actually changed your sleep," he said. "Good. Most people wait for motivation. You acted without it." They sat by the window. Mr. Chen took out a notebook and drew a simple shape. "Thomas," he said, "imagine your life is a house. Right now, your house is cold, dark, and unstable. You keep fixing broken windows. You keep patching leaks. But you never work on the foundation. So everything collapses again." He drew a line beneath the house. "The hours between 5 and 7 in the morning," he continued. "This is foundation time. 2 hours a day, 14 hours a week, more than 700 hours a year." He wrote the numbers carefully. "That is not a habit. That is 3 extra months of life every year. And the way you use those hours will quietly decide who you become." Thomas stared at the page. "Here is the system," Mr. Chen said. "Not inspiration, not speeches. A system. Hour 1, 5 to 6. You build skills. Something that increases your economic value. Something the market rewards. You will not watch. You will not scroll. You will study. And you will choose one direction and stay with it. Hour 2, 6 to 7. You build the machine that carries you, your body and your mind. You will move, walk, stretch, strengthen. Then you will read, plan, or apply what you learned. Because knowledge without action does not change a life. Then he closed the notebook. And there are rules. Rule 1. 5 a.m. means every day, including weekends. No negotiation. Rule 2. 9 p.m. is bedtime. You cannot steal from your body and expect it to build your future. Rule 3. The first week will feel unbearable. Your body will resist. Your mind will beg. Push through. After 21 days, it becomes normal. After 90 days, it becomes who you are. He looked at Thomas steadily. "I am giving you 3 months. Do this for 90 days. Then come back. If you have built something real, I will help you. If you quit, do not call." Thomas felt the weight of the challenge settle on his chest. "I won't quit," he said. Mr. Chen gave a faint smile. "Everyone says that. Very few prove it." The following morning, at exactly 5 o'clock, Thomas's alarm exploded into the darkness. His body felt like stone. His mind whispered reasons. Just 10 more minutes. You worked all night. This is impossible. He saw his mother's face. He stood up. The first week was agony. He sat at his small table while the rest of the building slept, watching beginner lessons on Excel and basic accounting. The words blurred. His eyes burned. His thoughts wandered. But he stayed. When 6 o'clock came, he put on his shoes and walked into empty streets, cold air filling his lungs, his legs heavy, his head light with fatigue. Then he read. Then he slept. Then he went back into the night. It was exhausting. It was lonely. And nobody around him understood what he was doing. Around the 10th day, doubt arrived. This isn't working. Around the 15th day, irritation followed. Why am I torturing myself? But he kept standing up. On the 20th morning, something changed. He woke before the alarm. 4:58. His body had begun to adapt. The lessons stopped feeling like noise. He understood formulas, then patterns, then structure. He completed his first small certificate. It was simple, but it was real. His walks changed too. The streets were still quiet, but inside him, something was awake. He began to feel that while the city slept, he was no longer escaping life. He was preparing for it. By the end of the second month, Thomas had completed several courses. He could build spreadsheets, analyze basic data, organize information. His body felt lighter, his posture straighter, his thoughts clearer. At work, he started noticing what he had never noticed before: inefficiencies, confusion, time being wasted because no one truly tracked anything. One morning, during his early hour, he built a simple inventory system. Nothing impressive, just clean rows, clear labels, automatic totals. He showed it to his supervisor. The supervisor paused. Then he called the warehouse manager. The warehouse manager called the owner. For the first time, Thomas was not just walking through the warehouse. He was improving it. On the 87th day of his new routine, Thomas was called into the office. The owner folded his hands. "We are expanding our accounting department," he said. "We need someone who understands this warehouse and also understands numbers. Your supervisor showed us what you built. We want to offer you the position." Thomas felt the words before he understood them. "Day shift," the owner continued. "Double your current salary." The room felt suddenly quiet. "When do I start?" Thomas asked, his voice barely steady. "Next Monday." That evening, Thomas stood outside his building, phone pressed to his ear. "I did it," he said when Mr. Chen answered. 90 days. I didn't miss one morning." There was a pause. Then Mr. Chen spoke, his voice warm. "I am not proud of your new job," he said. "I am proud of your new discipline. That will outlast any position." "I won't stop," Thomas replied. "Good," Mr. Chen said, "because this was never a challenge. This was an identity." And Thomas understood something then. He had not been rescued. He had been rebuilt. That new identity did not fade after the excitement of a promotion. It deepened. 1 year later, Thomas was no longer the man walking home while the town woke up. He was the company's lead accountant. He worked in daylight. He made decisions. He trained others. But what mattered most to him had nothing to do with his title. He had moved his mother to the city. He paid for her treatment. He watched her regain strength. He rented a small but warm 2-bedroom apartment where light entered in the mornings and silence returned at night. And every single day at 5 a.m., Thomas still woke up. Not because he had to, because those hours had become sacred. That was when he studied new systems, read books that stretched his thinking, and planned his future. Those 2 quiet hours were where he stayed humble, stayed hungry, and stayed ahead of the person he used to be. When his coworkers asked him, "Why do you still wake up so early? You've already made it," Thomas would smile. "I didn't make it," he said. "I'm making it, every morning." My friend, Thomas's story is not about waking up early. It is about reclaiming the only thing that can truly change a life: control of your time. Between 5 and 7 in the morning, the world is quiet. There are no demands yet, no emergencies, no expectations. Your willpower is highest. Your mind is clean. That is where direction is built. So here is the same challenge Mr. Chen gave Thomas. Tonight, set your alarm for 5 a.m. Choose one thing to build, one skill, one path. Protect your sleep. Protect your mornings. Do this for 90 days. And when the alarm sounds tomorrow, remember, your future self is already awake, waiting to see if you finally meet them. Thomas's story is powerful not because he became an accountant, or doubled his salary, or moved to a better apartment. Those are results, and results always sit on the surface. What truly changed his life happened much deeper than his job title or his income. What changed was the relationship he had with himself. For most of his life, Thomas lived in reaction mode. His time was controlled by fatigue. His decisions were controlled by circumstances. His future was controlled by whatever was left over after survival. He wasn't weak. He wasn't stupid. He wasn't lazy. He simply never had protected time to build anything new. His entire existence was spent maintaining a life he didn't want. The moment Thomas claimed the early hours, he did something most people never do. He created a daily space where his past could no longer interrupt his future. No noise, no emergencies, no one pulling on him, just him, his direction, and the work. That is the real power of the morning, not the clock, the control. The first hours of the day are not magical because of the sun or the silence. They are powerful because they are usually untouched. And whatever you consistently place into untouched time becomes the foundation of your life. If you fill it with distraction, you build distraction. If you fill it with sleep you don't need, you build stagnation. But if you fill it with learning, movement, and focused effort, you build momentum. And momentum quietly changes identity. The deepest lesson in Thomas's journey is this: your life will not change when you feel ready. It will change when your daily structure makes change unavoidable. You do not need to transform your entire life. You need to transform what happens before the world reaches you. To apply this, Start small, but start sacred. Choose a time when the world is quiet. Protect it. Decide in advance what that time is for. Skill, health, planning, creation. And treat that appointment with yourself as more important than any request from outside. Do not wait for motivation. Build a system that continues when motivation disappears. Because the person you become is shaped less by what you dream about, and far more by what you repeatedly do when no one is watching. Now I'd like to ask you a simple question. If you had 2 quiet hours every morning that belonged only to you, what is the one thing you would use them to build? Please share your answer in the comments so everyone can read different perspectives and learn from each other. And if this kind of deep, meaningful story resonates with you, subscribe to Glaze English to support the channel and help us continue creating powerful content like this.